Hey guys, what's up? It's Trent here doing another review, and today I want to discuss BioShock Infinite, first-person shooter, PS3 tested, developed by Irrational Games. To make it extremely crystal clear, I knew absolutely nothing about BioShock come 1 month ago, and I finished playing BioShock 1 and 2, or should I say completed them, last weekend. I dedicated my entire weekend to finishing those two games, and I was so thoroughly impressed I had to pick up Infinite, and I got a lot to discuss. However, disclaimer, I am a noob to the series. I haven't had years to really ponder or sit on a lot of the themes within the game, so it's going to be very much a fresh perspective, I think. And I understand that this game is 5 months old, but better late than never, right? And before I get started with the review, there's something I need to do, or something I need to get off my chest. Prepare for fanboyism. Welcome to the circus of values! Yeah, spirit fingers and all. The story of BioShock Infinite is set in the year of 1912 in the floating aerial city of Columbia. It focuses mainly on Booker DeWitt, who is an ex-Pinkerton agent, and his mission is to rescue the damsel in distress Elizabeth, who has been locked away in a tower in Columbia. It is believed that once he hands her off to an agency, his debt will be cleared once and for all. At first, when hearing about the story, it sounded a bit like Shrek. Yeah, Shrek and Princess Fiona, locked away in a tower. But Infinite really has a lot more to offer than that, for the narrative of Infinite really brings a lot of dark subject matters to the forefront, which are really discussed in video games nowadays. Such themes include patriotism, religion, racial discrimination, and colonialism. Some of these themes in the games, or scenes should I say, made me feel deeply uncomfortable. Most in particular, the scene where you have to throw a baseball at either an interracial couple or at the spokesperson himself. I, of course, opted to hit the spokesperson because he was a complete tosspot. While these in-game themes may seem sacrilegious to most people, Irrational Games really takes these on convincingly, fearlessly, and unapologetically. I will say though that the game starts to become a bit of a roller coaster ride, and starts making twists and turns in really strange and baffling ways, mostly in particular the latter half of the game. For me, this actually led to a bit of confusion personally, and I really had a lot of mixed thoughts about the ending, and I found that a lot of my questions I had in my head were quite simply unanswered. However, I feel that the story of Infinite is so deep that it warrants another playthrough, and that's exactly what I had to do. So that's it. That's all I'll be discussing when it comes to the story of BioShock Infinite, because much like using the skylines within the game, it starts to become a bit of a roller coaster ride, and it starts weaving in and out of realism, which led to me feeling rather confused and a little bit baffled, especially with the ending, and I think I'll be discussing the ending in another video. However, like I said, doing another playthrough really did alleviate a lot of my burning questions I had about the story, most particularly the ending, so I would definitely recommend another playthrough. But much like BioShock 1 and 2, the plot is very deep and complex and thought-provoking, so if you like the story of BioShock 1 and 2, I can almost guarantee you'll like the story of BioShock Infinite, even though there's really not a lot of semblance to any of them. BioShock Infinite has a rather small character cast, which is quite good I feel, because Infinite is really one of those character-driven experiences where it focuses mainly on its core duo, and here I'm speaking about Booker and Elizabeth, and no time is wasted in fleshing out these characters to such a really exceptional degree, I feel. I would honestly liken Booker and Elizabeth's relationship to Joel and Ellie in The Last of Us. That might seem as a bit of a stretch, and although their relationship doesn't quite reach Joel and Ellie's extremities, I still think it's a pretty good comparison, because when they first meet, naturally there's a lot of doubt and mistrust between them. But slowly over time their relationship deepens and transforms into a strong and loyal bond. And unlike Jack and Agent Delta in BioShock 1, Booker is actually given a voice in this game, which I find completely fascinating. It abandons the silent protagonist archetype in favour of allowing the main protagonists be able to communicate with the player. So Booker is voiced by Troy Baker. Actually, that's a bit of a disservice. The legendary Troy Baker. He's in a lot of games nowadays, and he yet again delivers another solid performance and breathed life into the stalwart and well-meaning Booker. However, I feel that the game really is focused on Elizabeth, and she is such a fascinating character. Elizabeth has really lived most of her life locked away in obscurity. She spends a lot of her time reading books and learning more about the world which she craves to visit and see for herself. As a result, Elizabeth is extremely intelligent. She has a lot of humanistic qualities which I found really endearing. She really wears her heart on her sleeve. She has trouble hiding her emotions and containing her emotions. However, she is really strong-willed, I feel. She always speaks her mind, and on occasions questions Booker's actions, for better or for worse. She also possesses this remarkable gift of opening up tears, which are like rifts into different dimensions, which allow her to visit locations at her will, and have access to a present area at a different point in time. Because she is such a pivotal character within the story of BioShock Infinite, there really is no doubt, or it really doesn't come as much of a surprise to me, that she steals the show from our unsung hero Booker. So as stated, BioShock Infinite is a character-driven experience. They don't really hamper themselves or bog themselves down with a huge cast of characters which don't end up necessarily being expertly crafted or developed, and that really shines throughout the narrative experience. I felt connected with these characters. I really wanted to be with them at every single twist and turn. So if you enjoy a character-driven game, I'm not going to say it's reaching the high godlike tiers of Joel and Ellie's relationship in The Last of Us. It's still a fascinating and intrinsically deep and inspiring look at two core characters. The gameplay of BioShock Infinite is quite similar to BioShock 1 and 2 with a couple noticeable differences, yet it still manages to keep its overall identity and still manages to build upon its foundations and create something new which will catch the player, like me, by surprise at times. As stated, BioShock Infinite really does represent what the first two BioShocks did as a first-person shooter and really maintains its core identity. Mechanics are relatively unchanged for the most part. You have your myriad of old-school weaponry with a slight modern twist, my personal favourites being the good old boomstick and the hand cannon. Vigors have been reworked and tweaked to some degree while still maintaining their primary identity. Such vigors include the Devil's Kiss, Undertow and Murder of Crows, to name a few. These can be combined with other vigors to chain up and create devastating effects which can give you the upper hand in battle. Skylines are also heavily emphasized in combat situations, and guess what? It actually works. I loved having the ability to use skylines in order to assess a situation and thwart my enemies. It added a sense of control and dominance over the combat arena, and as this game really gives you quite a bit of freedom to approach battle the way you see fit, I never really felt like I was limited in these encounters. However, the winning point in gameplay for me would definitely have to be Elizabeth herself. It just proves to show that Elizabeth is more than just a pretty face or a fascinating character, but she's also a tremendous help in combat situations. Talk about a breath of fresh air here. She helpfully provides you with salts, health, and opening tears to operate machinery which can be used in your favour and turn the tides against enemies. Elizabeth will also help you unlock doors, providing you have enough lockpicks, which can lead to a treasure trove of goodies. On the subject, she also occasionally points out the locations of lockpicks and hands over coins that she finds, which is also another extremely welcome change. With all these fantastic gameplay mechanics, I honestly did have two big gripes with the gameplay. The first being the orange protective shield. When the shield is broken after taking too many hits, the screen starts to crack with a bright yellow broken glass effect. I honestly found this incredibly annoying and distracting, and it honestly led to a lot of raging moments. Secondly, I found that I was somewhat overpowered, and I felt like that quite often. Mind you, I did play the game on medium difficulty. I might be singing a different tune on harder difficulty, but I was still able to wreak shop on my enemies by mainly using only my hand cannon and bucking Bronco Vigor with very little to no effort at all. I also noticed that the weapon system is a lot more simplified than BioShock 1 and 2, which might seem as a bit of a downgrade from those previous iterations. However, you can be the judge for that to see if it is a detriment or not. I personally felt that it made the gameplay a lot more cohesive, and it certainly wasn't an insult to me. Having only 2 weapons at one given time really allowed me to assess the situation and decide what weapons I wanted to carry around and upgrade without bogging me down with too much options. For all intents and purposes, those little nitpicky things I had about the gameplay are really personal preferences. I really love the gameplay of BioShock Infinite despite its somewhat minor blemishes, and only you as a player can decide whether or not you think the gameplay is great or not, whether you think it's too far of a deviation from 1 or 2. I personally really like the gameplay. It made me, or should I say, it really put me in the driver's seat. I was able to assess the situation how I saw fit. I think that's fantastic, and you guys really need to know I'm really not a first-person fan of anything at all. So the fact that I was really engaged and quite exhilarated with this gameplay is saying something. I really haven't had this much fun with a first-person shooter since Deus Ex Human Revolution. That's quite a bit of a stretch for me, but I really love the gameplay of BioShock Infinite, and I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one. The visuals of Infinite really are magnificent, and to someone who is more of a graphical whore, I can understand that they'd think this game is a bit outdated or old-fashioned in the visual department, but I have to come to the defense of Infinite here and say that it really doesn't matter, because I think that if this game went a little bit more realistic, it would have lost a lot of its charms, and BioShock really created this signature look and created its own special aesthetics, which is amazing. Gone are the days of the dark and claustrophobic landscapes of the underwater city of Rapture, although I really love the city of Rapture. It opts for the heavenly floating metropolis of Columbia. The colour palette has been completely reversed from its muted greens, greys and blues for a more vibrant and colourful background. They really don't shy away from colour here. So the entrance or opening sequence into the city of Columbia was absolutely exquisite and breathtaking. I almost had a tear in my eye due to how stunning and impressive the city actually was. Honestly, I'm gushing about this, and the best words I can use to describe the city of Columbia are heavenly, ethereal, and mesmerizing. I really love the lighter than air feeling that the city gives you. It has this gorgeous look and a lot of angelic structures, which really adds to the sense of magnificence. The streets are bustling with people going about their everyday lives. It is filled with energy, it's pulsing with life. Irrational really took a risk into thrusting us into a completely different environment. And it's a very interesting contrast, but this contrast works absolutely beautifully, and it gives us a refreshing break from the dark and dreary environments in Rapture. Irrational Games have really hit a home run here in creating a signature look for the series, and Infinite, it really is no exception here. So if anyone's got a problem with the visuals, you have me to answer to, because I will defend the visuals and presentation of the BioShock series to my dying breath. I absolutely love the city of Columbia. I was absolutely blown away by the city of Rapture, and they've done it again with Columbia. It was absolutely fantastic. I am gushing about the visuals, and it doesn't need to be realistic at all. I love the visuals and the fantasy-inspired palette that was used in the game. It doesn't need to be realistic, and I think we would have had a very different looking series if they took that path. Why change something that's already perfect? You shouldn't need to. Lastly, I'll be discussing the soundtrack for Infinite. I absolutely loved the soundtrack for Infinite, like, you have no idea. My personal favourite tracks in the score would have to be Will the Circle Be Unbroken, the choral version, Elizabeth, and Solace. So as stated earlier, there is quite a variation here, it's quite eclectic. So if you like the BioShock 1 and 2 score, where it introduced a lot of the weeping violins which come in very wistfully and moody and melancholy, you most definitely will enjoy it in Infinite because it's still present here. Yet it also manages to introduce a lot more industrial sounds, heavy thunderous beats and huge orchestra moments, especially when riding on the skylines. I truly, absolutely love the soundtrack. I've listened to it multiple times. It's definitely worth a listen. Listen to it after you play the game and you'll be going, wait, I was doing this in the game, or I was doing this in the game. It's one of those moments where you can pick out a score or pick out a piece within the score and say, I was doing this in the game. It was absolutely a fantastic listen and pretty damn inspiring. So in summary of BioShock Infinite, I am more than impressed. Then again, I was thoroughly impressed by BioShock 1 and 2. I was more than likely to be impressed with Infinite. While there are a few blemishes here to be said, especially when concerning some of the gameplay mechanics, it really doesn't deviate from the overall experience, for I feel that the story and the characters are really the strongest points within BioShock Infinite. It takes you on this epic and unforgettable ride. I don't think you'll be forgetting this game anytime soon. It really will linger in your mind, or it lingered in my mind for a long time, especially when including the ending, which I will be doing another video for. So in short, Infinite really has exceeded all of my expectations. I think Irrational Games are going to have a really hard time trying to cap the success of Infinite. It's truly a fantastic game. I can't promise that die-hard BioShock 1 fans in particular will love this game. I will say it's definitely worth the play, and I won't be forgetting it anytime soon. And I'd really love to thank Irrational Games for expanding my horizons on the first-person genre. I don't have a lot of interest in this area, but you guys have done it. Not since Dishonored have I been so thoroughly impressed with a first-person shooter, so thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you very much for watching this review. I hope you enjoyed it. I tried discussing as many subject matters as possible within the game, but if you feel that I missed something important out, or if you want to leave your own interpretation or feelings and opinions about BioShock Infinite, that's what the comment section's for. You can leave it right here. Thank you again for watching the review. I don't know when my next video will be, I'm afraid. I am moving house. So, new house, new times, new life. And before I go, I have to do one more thing. And again, excuse my fanboyism. Welcome to the circus of values! Thanks guys, see you next time.